When pan roasting any protein, you want to make sure that you heat a heavy bottom saute pan over high flame and let that saute pan charge with heat before you add in your cooking oil. Now here we use our standard 50-50 mix of canola and clarified butter. Canola oil will work fine as well. Now, any fish is going to have two sides. You're going to have the subcutaneous fat side where the skin used to be attached, or the skin side, and you're going to have the flesh side. Now, you always want to sear flesh side down because it's going to give you a much cleaner sear in the first place, and also that little layer of subcutaneous fat is going to melt down and help baste the fish during the pan roasting process. Now, you always want to make sure that you're using an appropriate size pan that just barely is large enough to fit your protein. Now, the reason why is, picture if this was a larger saute pan. What happens is when you drop a cold piece of protein into a pan, it's instantly going to zap out some of the heat where the flesh is actually in contact with the metal. Now, as that pan starts to recharge, the outer edges are going to charge faster, giving you an uneven sear, and that's why a lot of times you'll see that it's crispy and burnt on the outer edges, but the interior sear is still weak and has no color. Now, the whole point of this pan roasting technique is to get a nice, beautiful crust while still keeping the integrity of the fish. This is why you never ever peek at your sear, and you never actually flip it until you're done. Now, once you have a nice golden brown color that looks like this, a little golden brown ring that's going all the way around the piece of fish, you want to place the whole pan into the oven. And again, you have never peeked at the underside of the crust, you've never used a spatula, and you haven't flipped it. You're going to check it. Now, see how it's still kind of squishy and it's not really responsive? That's still a pretty rare piece of fish. So I'm going to place it back in the oven for a little bit longer. And this is a 500-degree oven. We always roast at high temperatures. And at about the 5-minute to 8-minute mark, depending upon your oven temperature, you're going to pull that piece of fish out, and you're going to give it a little squeeze, and it's going to spring back at you, and it's going to be nice and responsive. Now, you'll notice that the outer edge of that crust has darkened a little bit. Now, when you go to remove the fish from the pan, you always want to come in from the side with the grain. If you try and attack it from the middle, you risk splitting the fish that's now nice and tender because it's been roasted. Now, when we flip it out onto the sizzle pan, you're going to notice that it has a nice, beautiful golden brown color, even crust, and it's going to be nice and succulent and tender. Now, for serving ideas, stay tuned for our following video, which is going to actually be the completed dish of our pan roasted halibut.